everyone, welcome back to the Fantasy Pros Football Podcast with Bobby Sylvester and the number one most accurate expert out of over 140 experts through 5 weeks, my good buddy Mike Tagliere. Tag, serious congrats on the great start, man.
Thanks, man. I don't feel so great, though. I mean, it was number one going into this week, and it was really a rough week for me in terms of like DFS and everything else. It just didn't feel like it was a week where I hit. I mean, that's going to happen from time to time. It's just like, I'm not going to compare myself to an NFL player, but it's going to happen where we have bad weeks. It's just going to happen sometimes. So I do appreciate that. It means a lot, and I know there's a lot of smart people in this competition, so I know it's not going to last always and forever, so I definitely want to appreciate it while I have it. So
it fluctuates so much, like you could move from first to sixth in 1 week, and I think everyone has those bad weeks except Sean Corner from stats.com. So you can't really afford to have one if you want to keep him behind you in the standings, but it was a great run, and hopefully you can stay in the top three, maybe bounce up to the top one again here at the end of the season. I know everyone thinks like we have some rivalry, and we do disagree sometimes and poke fun at each other. It's fun. But I tend to agree with you much more than like anyone else in the industry. I've seen you dominating. It's been a blast, dude.
Yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun. And that's the thing. It's just like, what we do is we take the information that we're given and we try and present it in a way that you guys understand it and a way that makes you feel good. I think the ideal thing for me is when our followers, our listeners, when they press that submit lineup button, I want them to understand why they're doing it. And if we're doing that's basically all that matters to me. So it makes me happy.
So Tags, right before the show, I was running up the stairs and I stubbed my big toe. It's like mangled, man. I'm serious. I'd rather get punched in the man parts than stub my big toe. There's no doubt about it. It's probably the most underrated pain spot on the body.
Oh man, I've pretty much, I've hit my foot so many times that it's like I've mastered the whole breathe in and just hold in your aggression and just understand, like embrace the pain for a moment. It's weird. I have this thing with pain where I'm okay with it just because I've learned to almost just understand that what it's like to feel pain, because think about it this way: you'd rather feel pain than feel nothing at all.
I guess. I don't know. I think I'd rather feel nothing than feel my mangled toe.
You're like, no, Mike, I didn't think that at all when I hit my toe.
So we had a number of big injuries this week, Tags. We'll cover the implications of the two big ones, then touch on some others. So let's start with Aaron Rodgers. Broken collarbone, really just terrible. I mean, he's the best player maybe in the history of football. Tags, first I saw that some of your followers were getting into it with you about the legality of the hit. Why don't you give your take, then we'll talk about Jordy Nelson, Devontae Adams, and the running backs, because everyone is asking right now.
Yeah, so one of the big things for me, like when I watch football, I watch so much football that I could tell you when a player is trying to intentionally hurt someone. And the way that bar came down on Aaron Rodgers, he was intentionally trying to bring all of his weight down and come down on his shoulders. Like if you go watch that, and that's the thing is some people have told me, they're like, Mike, he didn't know the ball was out. I don't really care if he knows the ball was out or not. When he went to grab him, the way he lifted him.
He knew the ball was out. He knew the ball was out, man.
And the way he lifted him and turned, he literally twisted while he had a midair. And it all happened so fast that I don't expect most people to see these things, but it's something that I see when I watch the game because I see so many tackles. I understand how things are supposed to go, and I can't stand it when players do that. They try and bring all their weight down on someone when they're on their side, which is that's what leads to broken collarbones. We've seen it happen all too often. So I felt it was a dirty hit. Now, was it blatantly dirty? No, but the people that watch football on a regular basis, I would expect them to understand that hit and why it was dirty. So
even if he wasn't intentionally trying to hurt him, and I agree with you. I think that he was. I can't say that was definitely the case, but it was a late enough hit that I guarantee he gets fined by the NFL. Guarantee it.
I mean, I would only hope so. And the thing is, he ended up with a concussion later in that game. So if someone told me that it was karma that kind of took place, but that's the thing, guys. Don't think just because
I don't like that either.
Yeah, don't think that just because I'm into fantasy football means that's why I'm rooted. I'm mad at this guy about Aaron Rodgers hit. I'm a Bears fan, so obviously, Aaron Rodgers not being on the field helps me in my fandom, but I appreciate greatness for what it is. And Aaron Rodgers is the greatest player in the NFL right now. And we're missing, Matt Harmon tweeted out something this week is that we're missing potentially the greatest quarterback in football right now. We're missing the greatest wide receiver in football, maybe the greatest running back in David Johnson, maybe the greatest safety in the game, the greatest defensive lineman in J.J. Watt. So it's like we're losing all of this talent. Nothing good comes of that. And that's why, when I hear players talk about player safety, I'm like, practice what you preach, guys, because you guys are the ones hurting one another. And yes, one more person, I swear to God, I will block you on Twitter. If you come at me and say, Mike, grow up, be a man, it's football. That's a bunch of crap. And if you have that mentality, football wouldn't even exist. So seriously, don't say it's football and that I need to man up. I want them to protect the players that matter most to this game.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I like that take a lot. Okay, let's talk Jordy Nelson, Davante Adams. How far did you move them down your rest of the season rankings? And what about the running backs here? By the way, we update our rest of season rankings every Monday. And so you can see the consensus rankings. It's Tags and I, maybe a few other experts are doing their rest of the season rankings as well. I think Dan Harris does his on Mondays. And we add to them throughout the week, but they're always up to date on Monday afternoons.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, it's weird with Jordy Nelson. He's one that I'm really torn on, is because I feel like he's so good, but at the same time, part of the reason he's so good is because of that chemistry he's had with Aaron Rodgers. I moved him down to, he's like a low end wide receiver 1, high end number 2 in my rankings, whereas Davante Adams took the biggest fall. I think he's just a wide receiver 3 now in fantasy football. And honestly, I don't even feel great about him there because he's a guy who's now in his 4th NFL season. He has still yet to put together a 1,000-yard season, so he was the most reliant on touchdowns coming from Aaron Rodgers. The fact that this offense may struggle to score 20 points per game now, I don't want Davante Adams on my team. And if this is actually something we're going to do later in the show, the whole buy-sell segment, but Davante Adams is definitely part of that conversation where if you can go out there and trade Davante Adams and even get anything close to wide receiver 2, RB2 value, I would do that immediately.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm with you. I've got Jordy Nelson, wide receiver number 11. And I'm worried that might be too high, but I've been burned by Jordy so many times. Like, oh, he's not going to come back from the ACL, and then he completely dominates. So I'm going to give him a little bit of credit here and say he's still a wide receiver 1, but I'm a little nervous about that. And Davante Adams, I agree. He is a big sell candidate right now. I have him as wide receiver 28. So what about the running backs, Tags?
Well, let me gauge something here for real quick, Bobby. Davante Adams, who would you rather have in a fantasy football league right now? Davante Adams or Amari Cooper?
It's really close. Probably, no, it's really not that close. I'd still have Amari Cooper. I've got him about wide receiver 20, 21 right now. He's just had such a difficult schedule, and I understand he's dropping all these passes, but we're talking about someone with over 1,000 yards, 2 straight seasons, and he's still so young. I mean, the talent did not disappear. It's not like he's hurt or something. He just hasn't been performing well. He will, I promise.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, I wanted to bring up that question because I think it's a great one, and the reason I bring it up is because you figure Amari Cooper talent level has always been greater than Davante Adams. I think we know that. And now that the quarterback is obviously a negative in Davante Adams' side, I think, yes, you go out, and that's a trade that you can make in your fantasy league. I promise you, whoever owns Amari Cooper, you can probably trade Davante Adams for Amari Cooper right now. And I should also note that Amari Cooper plays on Thursday Night Football against the Chiefs this week. And if Amari Cooper has a massive game against Terrence Mitchell, which is who he's going to line up across from quite a bit, then you are not going to be able to buy Amari Cooper anymore. People are going to understand that he's out of his slump. Like, they're going to see it on national TV, and that's what creates the biggest reaction in fantasy. So Amari Cooper can either, one of two things could happen on Thursday Night Football, is either his stock is going to go through the roof or it's going to continue to fall. I don't see it continuing to fall against Terrence Mitchell. So Amari Cooper, go out and buy him. This might be your last chance. But I do want to circle back to, you were asking about the running backs, and it's an interesting question because Ty Montgomery and Aaron Jones split snaps this week. Aaron Jones actually had 43 snaps to Ty Montgomery's 20. So is that a product of Ty Montgomery coming back from the broken ribs? Because I don't think Ty Montgomery would have been on the field had he not been close to 100%, right? I mean, why rush him back with the way that Aaron Jones was playing?
Have you had a broken rib, Tex?
I have not. The only bone I ever broke in my body was my back.
Well, that really sucks. I dislocated my hip in high school football, and it was really rough. But from people I've talked to who have had broken ribs, you don't come back from that in 2 weeks. Like, it takes a full month to recover. I understand he's a world-class athlete, but there is no way he was close to 100%. He was able to help his team. That's why they had him out there for 20 snaps. But, if he was out there performing well, I think they would have had him out there almost the entire time. He's the best running back in this backfield in my mind. I'm willing to trade Aaron Jones because people are seeing this and they're thinking, well, maybe Aaron Jones is still going to get 10 carries a game. I'm telling you, he's not.
Yeah, that's the question. Is I don't even know if we know that, but my concern I think I'm selling both of them, and the reason I'm selling both of them is because this is now a team again. When you're talking about the reason we were buying Ty Montgomery is because he was part of an Aaron Rodgers led offense that was a top 6 scoring team in the NFL. Now they're going to a team that again I really have no faith in this offense going forward, and it comes down to the offensive line not blocking very well. Aaron Rodgers is a very mobile quarterback. I think that's like an underappreciated aspect of his game is that he moves extremely well in the pocket. He evades pressure.
Yeah.
Where I don't know if that's going to happen. Brian Bulaga, the right tackle who has missed a couple weeks, he came back this week and then he suffered a concussion, so he might be out this coming week. I just don't want any part of it.
They had to play 8 offensive linemen. That's how many injuries they dealt with. So I actually like Brent Hundley. I think he's better than maybe 7 or 8 of the other starting quarterbacks in the NFL. But behind this offensive line that's just not in good shape right now, I agree. Not interested in the running back situation. I think Montgomery's price is fair. Everyone else I'm selling.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. And I think Jordy Nelson I would sell if I had the right price, but it's very unlikely that someone's willing to give you wide receiver 1 value for him. So I think you're probably gonna stick it out with Jordy because he's obviously the best wide receiver on this team. But everybody else, I'm with you. I'm selling it, and it finally gives you a reason, like as if we needed it. But I was trotting Martellus Bennett out every single week because it's like, this guy's getting constant targets from Aaron Rodgers. It's going to pay off. It's going to pay off. And, well, this is now finally your reason to bench Martellus Bennett, who's been playing like crap.
Yeah. All right, tags. Leonard Fournette, he's got the ankle issue. Chris Ivory's actually looked pretty good this season. And if Fournette's out, I think he's going to get a ton of work. So we'll talk about him a little bit later. Emmanuel Sanders, ankle injury. Jameis Winston, shoulder. Tyreek Hill on concussion protocol. And Golden Tate's going to miss a couple weeks with a shoulder. Are there any of these you want to talk about that you have a special take on? Or what do you think about these guys?
Nothing crazy. Tyreek Hill, I want to say that they announced after the game because I thought he had a concussion. But apparently after the game, they said that he did not suffer a concussion. So
good.
I don't know. That's the thing is we've heard some weird things because Luke Kuechly after the Thursday night game, it was ruled that he cleared the concussion protocol, but now there's Panthers spokespeople coming out and saying, no, he hasn't cleared the concussion protocol. He actually did suffer a concussion. So I don't know how we get misinformation on this type of stuff, but I did read something that said Tyreek Hill did not suffer a concussion, which is huge because he's supposed to be playing on Thursday Night Football, which is a short turnaround. And basically, if you get a concussion and then the turnaround to Thursday Night Football, you're not playing. It's kind of how things work. So, but yeah, no, Jameis Winston sounds like everything's going to be good there. Golden Tate, he has his bye this week, but he is going to be out several weeks apparently with a shoulder injury. The bye week should help, but this is going to play into one of the wide receivers I want to talk about during the waiver wire portion.
I think we're thinking about the same guy. I'm worried about Matthew Stafford, though. I mean, he's playing on the bum ankle, and if you saw him 2 weeks ago, he looked like he was in a ton of pain, and their offensive line has been giving up so many sacks. So I think this Lions offense as a whole has taken a big step backward. So I'm probably not as excited about Kenny Golladay as you. Is that your guy? Or are you talking Marvin Jones?
Yes, he's someone that's probably on waiver wires again after, he was like the big waiver wire pickup after week 1. And on this show, you and I talked about it, Bobby, and saying that people are going to pick up Golladay. Just let them do that. Let them blow their budget. And now we're at a point where you could probably get him for much cheaper. People are going to they're coming up on a bye week, so nobody's going to want to pick him up and start him right now, but it could be an interesting stash.
I'm thinking $4 or $5, and I could see him being a top 20, 25 wide receiver while Golden Tate's out. I mean, think about it. Brandon LaFell last year when AJ Green was out was a top 25, 20 receiver when AJ Green was out. So Kenny Galladay's more talented than Brandon LaFell. He's in a better offense too.
And Matthew Stafford, he has 225 pass attempts through 6 games. Like the defense has slowly started to turn into what we kind of thought it might be. Haloti Ngata apparently is a much bigger problem than any of us realized because the Saints just ran all over them, which is something that the Lions hadn't really allowed all year. So that's a big injury. Can we talk about before the waiver wire? Can we talk about Martavis Bryant?
Yeah, I think we kind of have to talk about Martavis Bryant. I mean, where's he going to go?
That's the question. If you guys haven't heard, Martavis Bryant reportedly is unhappy with his role on the team, and he's requested a trade. Now, of course, they're going to dance around this and say that, I'm fine, because he tweeted something after the game saying that it was a big win for us. We want to get championship, blah, blah, blah. That's what they have to do. They're saving face here. But it's kind of been telling that they've been playing Juju Smith-Schuster more and more snaps every single week. He's actually outsnapped Martavis Bryant the last 3 weeks. Martavis Bryant is he's not on the same page with Ben Roethlisberger. And this is something that I don't know if I've said on the show before, but I've talked about with my friends in private, saying that I wanted the Bears to trade for Martavis Bryant. I've been calling for this for the last few weeks. So to hear this, it makes me really happy, because I think that this could be a mutual exclusive thing where this is a wide receiver of the future, potentially. He's still a young guy. They have Trubisky, who needs wide receiver
Build your
help.
team around him, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and he still has a year on his contract. The suspension, he was supposed to be a contract year wide receiver. This was supposed to be the final year of his contract, but the suspension, we've learned as time has gone on, is that it pushes out their contract another year. So he's still under contract for another year. They'll probably get something solid in a trade. But you mentioned it, Bobby. You and I were talking. The Jaguars, would they be someone who'd be willing to pan up some cash, or trade?
If he was traded to the Jaguars, I would drop Martavis Bryant immediately.
Really?
It's close. Like I would give serious consideration to dropping him, because like Blake Bortles on 3rd and 3, he throws the ball like 0 yards. Like they don't trust him to throw the ball more than 6 yards downfield. Martavis Bryant's a deep ball threat. He's a Deshaun Jackson, like a younger Deshaun Jackson. The Jaguars aren't a good fit. They need a wide receiver, but they're getting Day-Day Westbrook back. I think there's better fits out there. I'd like to see him go to the Jets. The Jets are competing. I'd like to see him go to the Dolphins. The Dolphins have Devontae Parker, who's injured now. And he's probably going to come back soon, but they need all the weapons they can get on that offense. So I think he's going to go to a team who's got a competent quarterback and needs a wide receiver.
I can't see him going to Miami because they just spent a lot of money on Kenny Stills in free agency. They're still betting on Devontae Parker. He is in a contract year, I want to say.
Landry's leaving next year, though. Like, replace the guy now if you can. You can trade a 6th-round pick for Bryant. That's what it's going to take.
That's the weird part, is like I was going through my primer. I started writing that up today, and Jarvis Landry is seeing so many targets. Like, he has seen at least 10 targets in 4 of the 5 games they've played. So he's still an integral part of their offense. I don't know if they get rid of him, to be honest. Like, there may not be a better fit in the NFL for the marriage between the Dolphins and Jarvis Landry. But one interesting team is that the team that was considered the best team in football coming into this week, and that's the Chiefs. They obviously lost Chris Conley for the season last week. So do they make a play? Because they're a team that can win right now. They think they can. I mean, a lot of people coming into the season didn't like the Chiefs very much. They felt like they lost some parts, that they were aging. They just weren't a special team. They were undefeated until this week, losing to the Steelers. So I don't think that Martavis Bryant's skill set fits that of Alex Smith's. That's the only reason I can't put those two together. But I am really holding out hope that my Bears can somehow land Martavis Bryant.
Chiefs don't need him. They've got Demarcus Robinson, and I'm telling you, he is about to break out. Demarcus Robinson is a serious athlete. He would have been drafted a lot higher if it wasn't for 4 suspensions in college. But, Tags, time to move on to the waiver wire. Who is your number one guy?
My number one guy has got to be Darren McFadden. And here's the thing. I want to make an announcement here, because a lot of people are going to say it's Alfred Morris. And I'm not going to sit here and say that Alfred Morris isn't an addition. But the reason I say McFadden, here's the thing. They're playing San Francisco this week. San Francisco, the people who pick up Alfred Morris are going to be considered the smart ones after this week, because the game script should be fantastic. They're playing against a now rookie quarterback in CJ Beathard. Everything is going to go well for Alfred Morris here. But this is a Dallas team that has some serious issues on defense. Like, they're not the same defense they were last year. They're allowing a lot of points, which is leading Dak Prescott to throw the ball a lot more. I want to say last year he averaged 28 pass attempts per game. This year he's up to 35. And a lot of those attempts have gone to Ezekiel Elliott. If you've watched, Ezekiel Elliott is catching more passes than he ever has. And because of that, Darren McFadden needs to be in that role. Alfred Morris has bricks for hands. He doesn't catch passes out of the backfield. I think they know that. And that's the thing. Some people said, why was Darren McFadden inactive on game day then, if he was such a part? Because he didn't complement Ezekiel Elliott, whereas Alfred Morris did. He was like that thunder in terms of that thunder and lightning combo. If they needed him for short yardage work, if he needed a breather, that's more of what he was for. Darren McFadden is more of the 3-down running back. He's excellent in pass blocking. So I just think that Darren McFadden is the number one pickup. And if he's still somehow available in your league, which it seems like he's available in over half of fantasy leagues right now, I don't know how you don't make him your number one pickup.
He's not my number one. He's my number 3. And, I would spend 12 fat bucks on McFadden, and he's only available in 50% of leagues, but he is out there in some. I would definitely go out and try to get him. But my number 1 and number 2, Orleans Darkwa, running back for the Giants, and Alex Collins, running back for the Ravens. In the last 3 games since Darkwa came into his role, and especially this last game, He's averaging 69.3 rushing yards per game. Alex Collins averaging 67 per game over his last 5 games. That's better than LaShawn McCoy. It's better than Melvin Gordon. It's better than DeMarco Murray. It's better than Lamar Miller. These two guys are getting a lot of rushing yards. The touchdowns are going to come. And Alex Collins, as long as he doesn't fumble the ball, I think he's the go-to guy no matter who's healthy for the Ravens. And he's talented. Like, he's mini beast mode, man.
I'm starting to come around on Alex Collins, and that's something I didn't think I would have said 2 weeks ago. I was saying this guy benched a couple times, or he fumbled a couple times. He's just a role player, and this and that. The offensive line is
not a good offense. Yeah,
right. Yeah, there's all those concerns, and those concerns are still there. But at the same time, he's kind of gotten over the fumble thing, where it's like the Ravens are getting more and more confident with him, and he got up to 15 carries this week. So his carries have been going up every single week to the point where it's like, okay, Buck Allen. There was a reason that the Ravens didn't play him at all last year. They don't really love Buck Allen. They want someone else to be the man. So I'm coming around on Alex Collins. So I kind of like that call. As for Orleans Darkwa, there's a tidbit here that I like. And what I kind of like about Orleans Darkwa is that Ben McAdoo, secretly, the Giants, behind the scenes, Ben McAdoo gave up play calling duties, which is something that people were calling for a long time. And it happened before the Broncos game, where Darkwa obviously was the workhorse, 22 touches, 130 total yards. He didn't score a touchdown, but that's the thing. Play calling is a huge thing in the NFL. Most people, they overestimate coaching in other sports like basketball and baseball. That doesn't really change much. You need the talent on the field. Football, any team can win on any given Sunday because of coaching. And if they change the play calling here, it's really making that much of a difference. It's something we have to pay attention to. So Orleans Darkwa has my attention, but I also don't think that Wayne Gallman is going away, because Wayne Gallman hasn't looked bad either, but it's definitely worth picking him up off the waiver wire, though. I definitely agree with you there.
I like Gallman quite a bit, and I would think I was wrong about him because it seems pretty clear they're going to use Darkwa as the workhorse. I think he's at least going to get his chance. Now, they play Seattle, so it might not look pretty, and then the bye. So I wouldn't be surprised if someone picks up Darkwa and then drops him after one rough week, because I don't think he's really going to do much against Seattle. So it might be the kind of thing where once someone drops him, you pick him up after he clears waivers like 2 days later. So I've got Collins as my number one guy. Tags, this is the worst waiver wire week we've seen. So like, even though Collins is number one, I'm not excited about him. I'm betting 15, maybe 16 on him. And I don't know if that'll get him. I'm not betting any more on anybody else. I've got Darkwa at 12, Darren McFadden at 11. And then we'll talk about our next guys. But first, I want to talk about the sponsor of today's show, Leesa.com. That's Leesa. So I had family over to see the baby this weekend, and I've got this bassinet by the bed where the baby was sleeping. So I took them in and naturally told them about my new mattress. I kid you not, Tags. 5 minutes later, they ordered for themselves a Leesa mattress. I didn't have to talk them into it. They laid on it, saw how comfortable it was, and needed it for themselves. I'm telling you guys, Leesa's mattresses are the real deal. Killer price for a quality mattress, no chemicals, and Leesa.com is exploding because everyone who tries these mattresses are telling their family and friends how great they are. You can try it for yourself because they offer everyone 100 nights free with free shipping, and we've got a promo code for you. If you want to save $100 off your order, just go to Leesa.com/fantasypros. That's LEESA.com/fantasypros for $100 off your mattress order.
Yeah, Bobby. No, I think it's funny that you mentioned that your relatives that said that. My mom, okay, she lives like legitimately like 2 blocks over from me. It's awesome for my baby because I could walk him over there. But she came over when I ordered my bed, and literally it comes in a box that's like, it's not even as tall as me. It was like 4 feet tall, and like I don't know. I was able to pick it up myself. My mom's like, there's a mattress in there. I put it down. She actually laid on it after like it expanded. It takes like 15 minutes. Thing just expands open. She laid on it. She actually texted my wife 2 days later and said, hey, what was the name of that the mattress that you guys got? And she was actually going to go on. She asked for our promo code. She's going to be ordering one. So I kid you not, like, it's a fantastic mattress. I have back problems. It's firm enough for me to feel like I have support for my back. But at the same time, my wife was able to sleep in until like 11 o'clock on Sunday. So it's obviously working well for her as well.
There you go. So we did the contest the last couple weeks where we're giving away a free membership to Fantasy Pros for an entire year. And if you already had it, you just get it for next year. So we picked 2 winners from the reviews, and it's Corey S. and Michael K. They've already got the email, so they know they're the winners. Congrats to Corey and Michael.
Yeah, congrats, guys. That's awesome. I hope to see you guys. If you're listening right now, I hope to see you guys for premium subscribers. We actually do a live sit-start show where I go through and I talk with you guys. I answer your questions live, get some people on video and whatnot. It's for our premium subs. So congrats, guys. I hope to see you guys there Sunday mornings.
And for all the other reviews we got, like seriously, we appreciate it so much. There's just been great feedback. Like we get some reviews that aren't like A++ reviews, and it's really great to know what you guys are thinking, but we've also had some extremely nice things said about us, and we read all the reviews. We really appreciate the support, guys.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for supporting what we do.
So, Tags, I had Collins and Darkwa 1 and 2, Darren McFadden 3. Were Collins and Darkwa in your top 3, or did someone else sneak in there?
No, I actually have Dion Lewis up there. Dion Lewis is someone that you're kind of it's a force to be reckoned with. And the reason I say that is because, Rex Burkhead hasn't been healthy. He hasn't been the player I think that they expected. And he was going to be playing more as like a slot receiver, it seemed like anyways. And then you have Mike Gillislee, who fumbled. And literally,
rest in peace, Mike Gillislee. Season over for you.
Yeah, it just felt like it was the end. Like, I mean, Mike Gillislee hadn't done anything really special, but he hadn't really screwed up either. And I think that was the excuse. We've seen Dion Lewis getting an increased role every single week. James White is being used as a wide receiver. All he is a major PPR option. But if Dion Lewis starts getting the goal line work like he got this past Sunday, he's obviously worth adding in fantasy leagues. And I still think that Deontay Foreman deserves to be rostered.
Really?
I think he's a home run. I just feel like him and Derrick Henry are in this conversation where they don't necessarily need an injury to take over as the starter because, DeMarco Murray's really been bad. And so I think Derrick Henry, if he's out there, obviously you want to grab him. But Deontay Foreman, Lamar Miller is a very boring running back. Every time I write about the guy, I just look at his numbers and I go through everything. And every time I watch him, I'm just like, this guy gets what is blocked and that's all he is. Deontay Foreman makes a statement when he takes the field. He's able to make plays bigger than what Lamar Miller would. Granted, he may not be as good as a receiver, but he's shown the ability to at least catch the ball. Even in going back to the preseason, he made some flash plays with his hands. So Deontay Foreman, I don't know, with the way that Deshaun Watson is playing the quarterback position, you want the starting running back for this team, and it's only a matter of time before the Texans realize that Lamar Miller is kind of holding this offense back. I would be really excited to see Deshaun Watson with Foreman in the backfield.
It would be fun to see. I don't think Foreman's that great. I don't think he's stealing the job from Lamar Miller. I've got him number 17 overall, so maybe I'm wrong here. I've got Lewis number 5. The only reason I don't have him above Darquan Collins is because, I don't know, do you trust Bill Belichick with the running backs? Maybe Dion Lewis is the starter or goal line back for 2 or 3 weeks, but is he going to get more than 10 carries ever? Is it ever going to happen? We know that Darkwa and Collins can rush for 70 yards a game. We've seen it happen. They're also getting some goal line carries. They're also getting some passing work. So I just don't think Lewis has as much upside, man.
Well, the thing is with Darkwa, I don't want to take away too much from him with 1 week though either, right? Like coming into this week, his season high was 8 carries. So he's someone that it's like, if I see it again, I'll start to believe it a little bit, but his offensive line is so poor. And the fact that they have 0 wide receivers, I was concerned with Leonard Fournette when Allen Robinson went down because of the lack of talent around him, right? Because defenses can just sit here and say, we're going to throw our defensive backs out there one-on-one. We're going to load the box and good luck. The Giants just don't have the offensive line to handle that like the Jaguars kind of have. And then, going over and looking at it's just, I don't know. I have concerns about Darkwa. I could see it with Collins, I guess. But again, it's something similar where the team is just not really good. They've been down 3 offensive linemen this year. And has he been producing without it? Yeah, but he's not involved in the passing game at all. I don't even think Alex Collins has 1 catch on the season. So I'm just looking, I guess, for a bigger home run. I just feel like Orleans Darkwa is someone like Frank Gore, where it's he's never going to truly win you a week. He may not lose it for you, but he's, you know what I mean? Just that boring RB3 flex type player.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, man. The Rams had when they were in St. Louis, I followed the Rams. I guess I was a fan, which is embarrassing to say, but they had 6 running backs in a row like that until Todd Gurley came along. So that's who Orleans Darkwa is. He's not sexy, but he is someone I think you can start every week for right now. So that's why I'd prefer him. The other guy in my top 5 tags, Juju Smith-Schuster. We talked about Martavis Bryant maybe being traded. This is a guy with a lot of talent. I understand Antonio Brown is a freak of nature. Like, he might not be a human, but they've got to have a number two. Big Ben always throws to a number two, and I know Big Ben hasn't played well lately, but he's still Big Ben. He's still talented. And Smith-Schuster in this great offense with Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell, I think he'll continue to get red zone opportunities. I think he's a starter every single week, and that doesn't happen very often with wide receivers on the waiver wire.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to find waiver wire wide receivers who are every week contributors, and I think that's what Juju would become if Martavis Bryant were to be shipped out. Now, granted, Martavis hasn't been producing like on a consistent level or anything like that, but it's about the opportunity that Juju would walk into. I know it's very small and it's not like a big thing, but he's totaled at least 32 yards in each of his last 4 games. It's, again, he's a very bit player. Like, he's been just like a kind of like a role player, playing out of the slot, scoring 2 touchdowns, which, I mean, is more than Martavis Bryant. So he's obviously been doing something already. And if Martavis Bryant were to get traded, they drafted Juju Smith-Schuster in the 2nd round for a reason. Like, this is a team that was built to win now. I think they knew that they had to win now, and I think that's why they added him, not knowing what they had in Sammy Coates, not knowing what they had in Martavis Bryant. And obviously we kind of know where they're at now. And that's why they drafted Smith-Schuster. So they obviously liked him a lot. And he is definitely on my high priority list at wide receiver. Him and Marquise Lee are both guys that should be owned, I think, in every league. But I mean, me with McFadden, going back to the running backs, I just want to say that McFadden is someone that I'd be willing to spend. Honestly, if you've been sitting there not spending your budget, I'm willing to spend 30% on him, because if he's the running back that I kind of think that he should be, he can give you RB2 value for 6 weeks, and that's pretty important considering the state of running backs in the NFL right now. So outside of him, Deion Lewis, Deontay Foreman, Darkwa, Collins, those guys like are no more than 10% guys. Like, I don't spend up for them. And the same thing goes for wide receiver. And that's the thing that I like most about Juju, is that if you want to pick him up, he's not going to cost you a whole lot. Like, I don't think you need to spend more than maybe $5-6 of your fab to get him. That's kind of how am I wrong in that? Or do you think that he's going to go for more?
I've got Juju for 6 just because I want to get him. I think that you will get him for 6. I think you could get him for 1 maybe in your league, because I don't think people are paying attention to the Martavis Bryant news in most circumstances. That may be wrong. Like, if you're in a really competitive league, someone might be, but they're also seeing Big Ben and thinking, well, he might retire after the season. His head's not really in it, but he's very talented. I think Juju Smith-Schuster is going to help some team win a championship this year in fantasy football.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the names that's right by him, I think, in the waiver wire, I don't know how you feel about Josh Doxson. I know we've talked about him on the show before, but my concern is, I was talking with our producer earlier today, and we got into a conversation somehow about Josh Doxson and like how we feel about him going forward. And he played a season low percentage of snaps this past week. He played just 25% of the snaps. And I don't get it. Like, why is Ryan Grant playing more snaps than him? Why is Terrell Pryor playing more snaps than him? I know that you spent a lot of money on Terrell Pryor in free agency. I get that. But for him to play 25% of the snaps is kind of like inexcusable to me.
It doesn't make any sense at all. I don't understand. I watched Josh Doxson, and he is an athlete out there, man. He's going out and making plays. He's almost had 2 more touchdowns, but they were not well-thrown balls. If those balls were well-thrown, I guarantee he's owned in 50% of leagues instead of 9%.
Yep, he would have had 2 touchdowns this last week. I know he caught a touchdown on one, but I know exactly which ones you're talking about, because I've seen that too. Doxson, I stand by my statement. He's the best wide receiver on this team, and Terrell Pryor, man, I don't think I need to throw him out in our sell section, because you're not selling high. You're selling at an all-time low. But that's what I'm saying. Maybe try and find someone in your league that still holds on to where a player was drafted, and they're like, oh, I can get a 4th round wide receiver for nothing, for peanuts. I would trade Terrell Pryor for peanuts right now, because seriously, he's so underwhelming. This was a week where I was willing to trust him, and I actually put him in one of my lineups, and it did not work out in my favor.
If the draft was today, I'd take Pryor in the late 8th, early 9th round. That's his actual trade value, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't even know if I'd go that high, but yeah, that's probably about right, because then you're talking about the range of like wide receiver 40-ish. Yeah, so that's actually right around where I would probably take him to, because you're still holding out hope that the athleticism comes out, but every time I watch the Redskins, I just get sad.
So Tags, George Kittle is my number 6 guy. I don't know if you've had the chance to see George Kittle play. I really think he's going to be a superstar someday. It's not hyperbole. You watch him play. He's an athlete. He knows what he's doing with pass blocking, run blocking. There's a reason they traded Vance McDonald, just because they knew they had something special in Kittle, and they've been using him the past 2 weeks in the passing game. They don't really have anything outside of Pierre Garçon, so I think Kittle's going to get a lot of work. Plus, our producer told me that he played college football with the new rookie quarterback, so that could work out to his advantage as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's something I've talked about in the primer, actually. I talked about it before their game at Indianapolis when he kind of broke out, saying that people don't realize that George Kittle was playing like 90% of the snaps coming into that game. They had him on the field a lot. There wasn't another tight end who was even close on the team. So I said that, eventually production's going to follow, because he's like known to be one of those like elite spark athletes, I think. I don't follow that stuff too closely because it's just not my thing.
That is my thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like to be an athlete is a really good thing, obviously, but to put it all together on the football field is another thing entirely. But George Kittle has shown the last couple of weeks that he's able to do that. So yeah, I think he's one of those guys that belongs on waivers. I think just because he's not an every week starter, like he's one of those guys that you stream, and I think in your fantasy league you can get him at any time you want because nobody's paying attention to George Kittle. A tight end I would take over him on the waiver wire this week is Zach Miller.
Really?
I say Zach. Yeah, I say that because Zach Miller, so obviously I see every snap the Bears play, and Mitch Trubisky, he's targeted tight ends 18 times on his 41 throws over the last 2 weeks. So that's a massive target share. Deion Sims is not going to be catching touchdowns every week. That's not going to happen. But Zach Miller has 10 targets, 10 of 41 targets from Mitch Trubisky over the last 2 weeks. And that's basically like a 24% target share. So yeah, that's massive. So Zach Miller, I mean, he was a guy last year before he went down with an injury. I want to say it was in like week 8 or week 9. He was a top 12 fantasy tight end. So with the wide receiving core that they have with the Bears, it's just, people bring this up to me all the time saying, well, Mike, aren't you worried? It was kind of like Evan Ingram on the Sunday morning chat I did, Bobby. Somebody was asking me saying, with the lack of wide receivers in New York, are you concerned about Evan Ingram, and would you play him against the Broncos? And my answer was yes, absolutely, you play him. The reason is because with tight ends, it's a lot more difficult than it is to focus in on one of them versus someone like a wide receiver. And I say that because if you really want to shut down a tight end to game plan around him, you have to either stick a safety, stick a cornerback, or stick a linebacker on him in coverage all the time. And to do that, you're basically missing out on another person in the box 50% of the time, because tight ends block about half the time. It depends on which tight end, right? But that's what I'm saying. You don't want to waste a player for 40 to 60% of the time. Zach Miller, that's a player that no defense can key in on, even though he is probably the best receiver that the Bears have right now.
He's a big play tight end too. I like Zach Miller, but I mean, I'm looking at what George Kittle's done over the last 2 games. It's almost as good as Zach Miller's entire season, man.
Kittle has been really good. He's also had 2 really good matchups against Indianapolis and Washington. I am a little concerned now. Bethard, the fact that they have played together, that makes me more confident, because otherwise I'd be like, man, now going to a rookie quarterback, it's like, you don't really want to. You don't want to hear that.
Rookies pass it to tight ends all the time, though.
No, what's funny is that's a conversation that I'd never done the research on, but Brandon Marianne Lee, she was a guest on our podcast last week. I think I had her on when you were out. And she was always the one who she'd always bring it up to me. She's like, I don't know what it is, Tags, but I just feel like rookie quarterbacks, they throw to their tight ends all the time. And I'm like, it's something I always wanted to research. I've never done it.
It's true. I don't remember who researched it, but I read a real nice report on it, and they throw to their tight ends a ton. So I think George Kittle is going to break out here. I think he is going to be a starter every single week. Nice.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, is like you follow the targets of tight end, and George Kittle is getting the targets. The connection to Bethard is obviously a good one to have. So yeah, I'm interested to see it going forward. I'm not against picking up George Kittle, but I'm also the type that just picks up a new tight end seemingly every friggin' week. Unless you have Travis Kelce or Gronk or Zach Ertz, which, by the way, I actually moved Zach Ertz up to my number 2 tight end spot on the year.
Or how about Austin Seferian-Jenkins, man?
Well, that's the thing. So he's probably owned it.
Is he a top 5 tight end?
No, I can't say that. And the reason hold on a second. I want to be clear on this one, though, because yes, he's taken the fantasy world by storm the last 2 weeks. And honestly, he should have 3 touchdowns, because that one that was ruled a fumble against New England, I was watching that.
That was so stupid.
Yeah, I don't even know what happened there. It was just kind of like, wait a minute, how is that ruled a fumble? Like, we were all puzzled. But here's the issue with Seferian-Jenkins. Do we see them in scoring position very often? No. The Jets are not going to be in scoring position all that often. They're being a competitive team, and they're doing it because their defense is playing a lot better than anybody expected. But here's my issue with Safarian Jenkins. He has still yet to top 46 yards this year. Like, going over the last 4 weeks, he's seen a ton of targets. It's 29 targets over the last 4 weeks. That's only led to 152 yards. That's 5.2 yards per target. That's not ideal, especially when you're talking about someone like him who's supposed to be, a field stretcher. I am concerned about the lack of touchdowns. That's the only thing. He's a solid player. I just think he's in the wrong offense for someone like him, that he can be used down the seam a bit more. Like, if he was playing with Phillip Rivers, yes, he'd be a top 5 tight end for the rest of the season. I just worry about the lack of scoring opportunity for him.
Yeah, I've got him at number 8 right now for tight end, but people are really excited about him. I am, because, I picked him up in week 1, week 2 in some of my leagues, and I've been hanging on to him. So he's my tight end now that Tyler Eifert's out in my big league, and I'm pretty excited about that. A couple other guys that I've got in the top 10, I'm not spending any money on them. I'd spend like $1 fab on, you mentioned Marquise Lee. Robbie Anderson, I'm not going to feel comfortable starting him any week, but if you're on a bye, there's a chance he hits you a home run and, goes for 80 yards and a touchdown any given game. Chris Ivory, I mentioned him. It really depends on what we hear about Leonard Fournette. I wouldn't be surprised if he's out 2 or 3 weeks, injured his ankle, and that was the ankle that was bothering him too. So maybe they should slow him down. But I'll tell you what, if they want to make the playoffs, they need Fournette. So I wouldn't be surprised if he suits up either. Just as a speculative ad, if you've got Chris Ivory and Blake Bortles offense, he's getting 20 carries next week, right?
With the way that the Jaguars are running their offense, absolutely. The thing is, Fournette, I read something after the game that he came out and said that he could have gone back in the game if he really wanted to, and that it just twisted a little bit, and he's playing it down. Like, I don't know if this sounds like going back to the preseason. You remember when everybody was making a big deal about his foot injury, saying that, we don't know how to feel him, we're going to lower him down our draft boards. And, I remember us talking about it. I thought that the Jaguars were just basically preserving the guy that they were going to lean on heavily for the regular season. And Fournette the entire time was saying in the media, he was just like, I'm fine. Like, I'm serious. I'm fine. And
he didn't look fine when he was rolling around on the ground holding his leg, man. It scared me to death.
It scared me too. I'm a huge Fournette supporter. I obviously hope he's okay. He's another one that I enjoy watching way too much. He's such a joy to watch. And I think that, you have something in the future with Leonard Fournette, and like, this team is going to be so good once they figure out the quarterback scenario. Like,
can they just run the Wildcat with Leonard Fournette, please? Or like run the option with Bortles. Bortles can run. Just stop passing the ball.
They're trying to pass it as little as possible, and it's a team that wanted to run. They said they didn't want to throw the ball at all. Ideally, they threw the ball 0 times. But as a Jaguars fan, Bobby, I wanted to ask you, how would you feel if they went out this offseason and signed Alex Smith instead of drafted a quarterback?
It's a great quarterback draft, so I'd be pretty upset because you're going to have to spend $15 million on Alex Smith, maybe $20 million.
Oh yeah,
with how he's playing right now.
Yeah, I think he's getting over 20 for sure.
I mean, there are a lot of quarterbacks I really like. I would like Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, Sam Darnold. I even like the kid out of Northwestern a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up the number 1 quarterback in this class. Then you've got Lamar Jackson too. So that's 5 guys that I think have a first round grade. If the guy, his name's escaping me, from Northwestern comes out this year. So I would just, sit back. I hope the Jags get about pick 20 and draft whichever one of those guys is left, because I think one of them will be, like Teddy Bridgewater fell and Deshaun Watson fell. So if they can get Kirk Cousins, great. But Alex Smith, I think that, kind of limits your ceiling.
Yeah, it's funny because I had this conversation with my buddy Nixon before the season. He's a Jaguars fan too. And I told him, I was like, what if the Jags went out and got Alex Smith? I think he's perfect for the offense and like what they want to do. They want to run the ball. And he's like, no, if they do that, I'll stop being a fan. And I wonder, I haven't had that conversation.
What do you want to do? Win 10 games and lose in the first round of the playoffs?
I don't think so. I think you have the recipes for success. I think you run the ball, play elite defense, which is what they have. And, they've upgraded the offensive line. And it's playing a lot better than people thought. And if you have a respectable quarterback like Alex Smith, I mean, I'm just saying, I think Alex Smith would fit in with the Jaguars, like, ideally.
Okay, Tags, I'm looking down the list, and it is just so ugly at this point. Jermaine Kearse, not really interested. Matt Forte, I guess he's got potential because they gave him some touches. Thomas Rawls is coming back. Maybe he'll get some touches in that horrible offensive line. Kenny Stills, we talked about Devontae Parker, being injured a little bit. There's really no one else I'm interested in here. Is there someone that stands out to you that you would advise people, maybe if you need someone at the end of the week, pick them up?
Yeah, it's really ugly. I'm with you. Mike Williams is a name that I think we should watch. Obviously, the Chargers felt the need to draft him super high. I think it was the number 7 overall pick that they took him when they didn't really need a wide receiver. But, I mean, they're going to push him to play. I don't think he's going to do much. The only reason I say that I don't want to trust him is because he's missed out on so much time. And I think that as a rookie, it's very, very important for you to get those reps with the quarterback, get on the same page, because I don't think the Chargers are against using a young player, but at the same time, it's just, but he's like a stash type of guy. Like if you're in a 12-team league and you have, let's say you have like 8-man benches, I think Mike Williams is worth a spot because Tyrell Williams is really disappointed. Travis Benjamin has kind of fallen off. That they could kind of use, that big possession wide receiver on the perimeter, because Keenan Allen, I just think he's being asked to do more than he should. And that's kind of where I'm at with that. Kenny Stills producing here and there, but again, I looked at his targets. His targets are not near what they should be in order for you to rely on someone like that. So yeah, as you mentioned, it's a really ugly week on the waiver wire. So don't go crazy. You know, be willing to go for your guys. Like I said, McFadden, I'd be willing to spend $30, like 30% of my fab probably. Deion Lewis, maybe 10. I don't know if I'd even go that high. Yeah. But yeah, the wide receiver, Juju, you don't need to spend that much. Marquise Lee is a $5 guy. Yeah, there's not really.
You can start him in your flex any week with Marquise Lee, and you're going to get 40 to 60 yards, maybe a touchdown here or there. It's not great, but it fills a bye week for you. The problem I have with Mike Williams, I want to go back to him. I love Mike Williams. I think he's going to have a very good career, but I don't have time to wait and see with him. In most of my competitive leagues, you've got like 4 or 5 bench spots. 2 of them are clogged up with buys. One of them, you've got an injured player, and the other guy's a project that I think is a better project than Mike Williams. So I don't really have room to wait for another guy. There's better guys that you can pick up and wait for. Like I saw Derrick Henry's available in 45% of leagues. If he's out there, go get him and wait on him instead of a Mike Williams. There's all kinds of guys like that.
Now, is Benny Fowler worth any pickup? By the way, we probably should have mentioned this at the beginning of the show. Emmanuel Sanders has already been ruled out for week 7, which is really big because this is obviously a day after their game took place, so it's not good. So you have to worry about his week 8 availability too. I mean, I would be prepared if they already ruled him out. I'd be prepared to be without him for 2 to 3 weeks. So Benny Fowler, is he someone that interests you at all?
No, not at all.
I like your answer. I really don't.
It's Trevor Siemian. Like Trevor, what's he going to do? Support 2 wide receivers who aren't, top 30 wide receivers in football?
Right. I mean, oh God, if we can go back and hear some of people's takes on Trevor Siemian to start the year and how he was a different quarterback, and I said, no.
Spare me. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's so bad.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason he almost lost his job to Paxton Lynch.
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised. I really wouldn't be surprised. I know Siemian came back in the game. If Siemian goes out again and Brock Osweiler comes in, I wouldn't be shocked if Osweiler just steals this job outright. I mean, he's not the worst quarterback in the world. They brought him up behind Peyton Manning, and I think he might be as good as Siemian, maybe better.
I mean, I don't want to go there just because of how bad he looked last year. But if we were to go back and if we were to erase 2016 and compare Trevor Siemian versus Brock Osweiler with the Broncos, with both their tapes next to each other, I mean, I think that you'd say that they're pretty comparable. I think Siemian throws a better deep ball, and I think that they kind of need that a little bit. It's ugly. Regardless, Trevor Siemian's just not the quarterback that they really hoped he would be. And if Paxton Lynch wasn't so bad in the preseason, like the thing is, they would have went with him as the starter. They wanted him to win the job. He was just so bad that they couldn't. So yeah, it's an ugly week. It's really gross in the waiver wire. So can we talk about some buys and sells?
Hey, Tags, before we move on to buy and sells, let's talk about a few players that are above the 50% threshold. So typically when we do this podcast, we only talk about guys who are owned in less than 50% of leagues, but some of you listening have Marlon Mack available on your waiver wire, and we're recording this before the game on Monday night, so we're not quite sure what he's going to do, but he's going to be out there in a lot of leagues. He's available in 50% of them. Some other guys out there, Alfred Morris is still available. Nelson Aguilar after the big game. I don't know if you've noticed this, Tags. He's a top 15 wide receiver at this point. Marvin Jones is available in 45% of leagues. And, with Golden Tate going out, he's the number 1 guy. And then even Andrew Luck is available in 40% of leagues. And Tags, he's really going to miss 2 more weeks. If you told me that Tom Brady was going to miss 2 weeks, I'd go pick him up. But I think Andrew Luck is a better fantasy quarterback than Tom Brady.
I mean, that might be considered a hot take, but I'm with you in the fact that he's in that same class. Like, there's not many.
He has been in the past 3 years. He's been quite a bit better than Tom Brady.
Oh, right, and that's the thing is people. I think when people hear that, they're gonna be like, "Oh, Bobby, no." And I'm here with you. I'm here to tell you that Andrew Luck is definitely in the same class as Tom Brady in terms of fantasy quarterbacks. The defense in Indianapolis has played a little bit better than I think we all expected, which does hurt the overall potential for Luck. But at the same time, if they move on from Frank Gore to Marlon Mack, it's going to help the potential for Luck. And I like how you mentioned that. Is that it's really weird. I don't know how I feel about Marlon Mack tonight because I'm rooting for the player because I really do believe in him, and I do believe that he should be the starting running back for this team. But at the same time, on a nationally televised game, I don't know if I want him to go off because then it's going to set off everybody's alerts to say, "Oh, I need to go get Marlon Mack." And it's a player that I've had to let go because of some bye week issues in some leagues, and I would much rather go back and be able to get him before Andrew Luck comes back, because once Luck comes back, this offense is going to be moving a whole lot faster.
Yeah.
It's going to be scoring a whole lot of points, and you're going to want Marlon Mack on your team.
Okay, Tags. Buy, sell. Give me a buy that you like this week.
All right. So, I mean, it was Mark Ingram's week. It was his time to shine for the Saints, but seriously, do not let Alvin Kamara go unnoticed. He's now touched the ball 28 times over the last 2 weeks, and he has scored at least 11.7 PPR points in 3 straight games. Some are going to wonder is there enough for Ingram? Is there enough for Kamara? It was a game where they scored 52 points, yada, 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 yada. But here's the thing. If you go back to last year,
the defense scored 21 of it, so that doesn't really count.
It was nuts. I'm so disappointed in looking at the box score for the Saints, knowing they scored 52 points, and to see that Drew Brees didn't even score 12 fantasy points, and that Michael Thomas had 1.1 low. Yeah, he had a career low in yards. Like he had never finished with fewer than 40 yards in a game. Of course, he has a bad game. So, but I don't want all of this to go unnoticed because Mark Ingram is going to be a solid running back. I mentioned it last week that he's going to have high-end RB2 value, maybe even RB1, but both him and Tim Hightower were both top 24 options over the second half of 2016.
Yeah.
So Alvin Kamara is twice the player, maybe 3-4 times the player that Tim Hightower was. He catches passes out of the backfield. And yes, it was just a few touches that Adrian Peterson left behind, but it's enough to give you that confidence to stick Kamara in your lineups. So if someone was expecting Kamara to be the running back to own in New Orleans, and then they just saw Mark Ingram go off for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, that's great. Go out there and trade for Alvin Kamara because he's got RB2 value every single week.
I like him better than Chris Thompson. People are going nuts about Chris Thompson.
Oh, yeah.
He's, top 5 running back so far this season? I'd much rather have Alvin Kamara.
With you, 100%. I would Kamara, yes.
So my buy is Michael Thomas from the Saints. I mean, Jags, he's still a top 10 receiver, right? I have him in the top 5.
I have him as my number, I think, 6 wide receiver right now. So yes, I'm 100% with that.
You can get him for cheap. I mean, Darius Slade just slowed him down. He's really got some nice matchups coming up. And I think that the owner is going to say, well, maybe Michael Thomas is, a borderline top 10 wide receiver. I'd pay Mondo Bucks for him. I'd take him in the first round right now if the draft was today.
Absolutely. He played, so just to give you an idea as to he was the number 7 wide receiver on a point per game basis coming into this week, and he had already played against Xavier Rhodes. He played against the Patriots and Stephon Gilmore. We know that they try and take away number 1 receivers. He played against James Bradbury of the Panthers.
He's good.
He's phenomenal. Don't worry about Michael Thomas. I actually looked and he's my number 5 receiver actually for the rest of the season right now. One other player I want to say as a buy, Amir Abdullah. And I know he's on his bye week, so you don't necessarily need to trade for him right now, but I think it's the ideal time because his owner might think, he's on a bye. He hasn't really been doing too much. But this is a guy who has gotten 14 or more carries in 5 of 6 games. It's an offensive line that has been working together to develop some continuity. The bye week should help with that. It is so hard to find a running back in today's NFL that can average over 16 touches per game, which is exactly what you're getting with Abdullah. They've kind of gone away from Theo Riddick. They want Amir Abdullah to be the guy. He's had some tough matchups on the slate. I just think that Amir Abdullah still has the upside that you thought he had a couple years ago, and he's starting to get the touches to do it. So I'm buying Amir Abdullah still. Yeah,
he had some horrible matchups to start the season too. I actually said this in one of our pre-draft episodes where I was saying Amir Abdullah is going to struggle for 5 weeks and you're going to be able to buy him cheap. So don't draft him, plan on trading for him, and now's the time to trade for him. He's getting even more work than we expected. In fact, I think Theo Riddick is droppable at this point. And Scott Pianowski just tweeted out, I don't see what's so special about Amir Abdullah. And I'm sure a ton of people saw that. Hopefully the guy in your league with Abdullah, I think you can get him for cheap. So that's a great one, Tags.
Yeah, he's a really shifty running back. He's just playing behind an offensive line that's not the greatest. I just think it's going to take some time for them to develop the chemistry in order to push the line forward. But with that being said, my sell of the week is it's pretty easy. I know some people don't like to sell players who are this hot, but I talked about Todd Gurley the other week in the fact that you have to find their high point, the point where they're going to be never valued higher than they are right now, and that's Will Fuller right now.
Oh yeah, he's my guy too. Yeah.
He has magically scored 5 touchdowns on 14 targets. Think about that for a second.
8 receptions, 5 touchdowns, man.
Exactly. He's caught a touchdown every 2.8 targets. The dude is 6 feet tall and 185 pounds. He had some of the smallest hands at the combine. Legitimately, people were concerned. I think it was under 9 inches for his hand measurements, which is really, really small for a wide receiver. So to give you an idea as to how unrealistic it is for him to even keep close to the path he's gone, last year, the minimum of 40 targets, the leader in the NFL in terms of targets per touchdown was 8 targets per touchdown. He's catching one every 2.8 targets. So basically, so he can go another 26 targets without a touchdown, and he would still lead all wide receivers from last year in terms of targets per touchdown.
It's a great stat. I love that.
Sell Will Fuller.
Yeah, sell Will Fuller. My other sell is Carlos Hyde. 2 touchdowns made his weekend look nice, but he still has just 39 rushing yards in the past 2 weeks. And, just one game in the next 5 weeks against a run defense that isn't good. So I think now is the best time to sell him. I still like Carlos Hyde, but with the San Francisco 49ers offense, I don't know what they're doing with him, Tags. So I'm going to sell him while I can. And then my other buy I want to talk about, Joe Mixon. 50 rushes in the last 3 games. He's coming off the bye. I think some people might forget that he was getting a ton of work, and that Joe Mixon is a freak of nature. He could be one of the best 5 running backs in football next year, and I think he'll prove that in the second half of the season.
Yep, and there's some people who are worried about his offensive line, which is definitely a concern, but people had the same concerns about Orleans Darkwa before his performance last week.
Tags, let me ask you this before we get out of here. We did the buy-sell, and this is something I wanted to talk about, but I wanted to save it for the end. So Aaron Rodgers went down. I just wrote the other week that my top Super Bowl contender was the Packers. I'm not sure they're a 500 team without him. The Chiefs were manhandled by a team that just got whooped by the Jaguars. The Falcons lost to Jay Cutler. The Patriots almost lost to the Jets. Tags, at this point in the season, who do you think the best bet is to win the Super Bowl?
Oh, this is such an ugly question. Because there is no clear-cut team, right? From the AFC, I think you have to choose the Patriots, right?
I don't know. I don't feel comfortable doing that. They've looked so bad, man.
Their defenses look so bad. And the fact that they're still sitting where they are, it's with their defense playing as bad as they have been, it's just hard to bet against Tom Brady because you know that the Patriots are going to be a playoff team. They're going to win that division. So Tom Brady in the playoffs, do you want to bet against him? Absolutely not.
Well, I'm not betting against him at home, but they're not going to be at home. They're going to have to play in the wild card game probably.
Well, I still think they win that division. I'm still betting on them to win the division there. I don't think the Bills are going to pull that one out. The Jets, they're going to fall off. The Dolphins are not going to be there. So I still think they win that. They may not, in the championship game, they may not be at home. But man, it's so tough. I think the bigger question for me is the NFC. What team from the NFC can you confidently say that they're going to be in the playoffs? The Vikings? The Saints?
The Eagles. The Eagles are in the playoffs. I don't necessarily consider them a Super Bowl contender. I mean, I guess you can win any game once you make it to that stage, but I look at them and I'm like, I mean, they have a great offensive line, a great defensive line. Carson Wentz is coming around, but they just don't have the weapons to be a Super Bowl team. But yeah, the Rams aren't going to win the Super Bowl. The Panthers with Cam Newton, I don't know. Their defense is much improved. I could see them winning the Super Bowl, but the Saints, their defense is a lot better. I actually like them quite a bit. I don't think people realize how good the Saints defense has been in the past 8 games. Even at the end of last year, they were playing really well. Falcons are still in it. I think the Vikings, if Teddy Bridgewater is pre-injury Teddy Bridgewater, maybe they could win the Super Bowl because they have a great defense. And Jerick McKinnon looks awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say Minnesota would be one of the teams, but can we really say that a Case Keenum-led team is going to make it to the Super Bowl?
Case Keenum's not going to be the quarterback. I know Sam Bradford's career might be over, but I think Teddy Bridgewater is going to be back before the playoffs. And if he can get 4 games under his belt and look like, a top 16 quarterback, which I think he was before his injury, I think they can win the Super Bowl, man.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. It's really weird. Like, that's what I'm saying. You break down this NFC, and I think you're probably right with the Eagles, and that would really make a lot of sense. Like the Eagles are on their bye this week. And they've been without Ronald Darby, obviously their prize possession from the trade for Jordan Matthews. Their secondary is the weak spot. I think they need to upgrade there. And once they get Ronald Darby back, I guess the Eagles are probably the team to beat in the NFC.
I've got one other team to mention, and you might laugh about this, but remember last year the Chiefs were really bad, and then they went on a crazy run. And then Tags, the year before, the Carolina Panthers started out rough, and then they went on a crazy run, and they were a Super Bowl contender. I'm looking at the Los Angeles Chargers right now. They're 2-4. They've got a 2-game winning streak going on, and their 4 losses were all pretty close. Phillip Rivers is a very good quarterback. They've got an incredible pass rush. Melvin Gordon's playing great. They've got Keenan Allen. Mike Williams is coming back. Hunter Henry's emerging. I really like the Chargers. I think that they're going to be a legitimate Super Bowl contender if they can keep this winning streak going.
The thing is with them is that Phillip Rivers hasn't really quite looked the same. Over the second half of the season, he's really struggled over the last 3 years.
Well, their offensive line keeps getting hurt. If it stays healthy, I think he can be great.
And they still have, that's the thing, is they still have the injuries. Forrest Lamp losing him to start the season wasn't a great thing. Their offensive line is but my issue with them, if you can't stop the run, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
That's a real problem. If you cannot name the last team that was a big Super Bowl favorite that wasn't able to stop the run. You need to stop the run, and they're probably the worst in the NFL when it comes to stopping the run. It's just they're generating a pass rush, but that's it. Losing Jason Verrett in the secondary hurts. Denzel Perryman should be coming back soon, one of the linebackers. So they're a better team than what they started the season at, for sure, but I can't see them as a contender. The AFC is much tougher than the NFC. The NFC, it's wide open. The Bucs were supposed to be a team that was contending. They look like one of the worst teams in football right now.
So, Tags, let's close this out with a final prediction. Who's in the Super Bowl at this point, if you had to pick?
Yeah, going through it, it's just how do I not say that the Eagles? So I'm going to say that, wow, I don't know why I'm saying it, but I am. The Eagles and the Patriots, that would be my prediction right now, and it's not one I feel great about.
I'm taking the Steelers. I know they just got whooped by the Jaguars, but they have a really good defense, and I think Big Ben gets together, and then Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown. So Steelers and Saints are who I would pick at this point.
Wow. That'd be awesome, by the way. You know what? The Steelers' defense has been playing so good, and they're wasting it because Ben Roethlisberger and the offense haven't got it together. Actually, before the season, if I said that there was one team that would take down the Patriots, that the Steelers were my pick. So I guess I'm rooting for that to come through.
Yeah.
But it's just their offense just hasn't looked quite the same. Although Le'Veon Bell looked like the Le'Veon Bell of 2016 last week.
I picked the Eagles in the preseason, by the way, to beat the Patriots.
Nice. Well, that's my pick now. I mean, I would pick the Patriots to win that game, but
yeah, me too. All right, man. Well, that's all we have for today's show. Tags, it was a lot of fun, man. And congrats again on the #1 ranking. We'll see if it holds. We're going to get the rankings coming out here in about 2 days. So good luck, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And like I said, there's just a lot of smart guys in the competition. So if I fall out of #1, I won't be upset. It's just we keep grinding, guys. We keep informing you guys of who to play, why to play them, and who to trade, who to sell, all that fun stuff. So thank you guys for listening, man. We appreciate it.
And for our next show, we've got Jim Santis, one of my favorites from numberfire.com. He's going to be coming on to talk about rankings, start sit. Going to be a lot of fun. Thanks again to the sponsor of today's show, Leesa.com/fantasypros is the promo code. Get $100 off your mattress order. Leesa is LEESA.com/fantasypros. For Mike Tagliere, I'm Bobby Sylvester. Thanks for listening and enjoy your football.
I just wanted you to watch me just